Hello everyone, this is Tricky and welcome back to another video. It's October now, so I have an excuse to do a lot of creepy videos for Halloween, but I think the majority of my content is scary anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But anyway, I'm sure a lot of you wish that Pokemon were real. I know that I wish that they were real. I mean, having a pet Arcanine sounds like the most amazing thing ever, and I would want 50 of them. Giant dogs, yes, please. But have you ever thought what would happen if Pokemon became real in this world? Not as being transferred to the Pokemon universe where all of these creatures are the norm, but if one day all of these Pokemon were transferred to the real world. We wouldn't have any Pokemon of our own for protection, and we would only have our video game knowledge to help us out. Of course, there's a lot of amazing Pokemon that could help us out, but there's always the Pokemon that have really messed up Pokedex entries that show what their actual nature is whenever they're not in human captivity. But be sure to check out the Pokemon that could take over the world, because it's a similar video, and I won't be covering any of the choices from that video in this one. Of course, if any of the 805 Pokemon existed, there will be a risk, so don't get the wrong idea that I think only 10 Pokemon will be the end of us. I'll do a sequel of this video if it reaches 5,000 likes, so let's go ahead and get into it. Starting off, we have SLIGGOO. What can possibly be wrong with a cute little snail dragon with a goofy grin? I mean, if these guys were real, I would totally want one. They were adorable, and I'm sure having one around the house wouldn't be too bad, right? I'm completely lying to you. While SLIGGOO looks completely adorable, it can produce a liquid that dissolves anything. Can you imagine real snails just dragging themselves around and then burning everything? When I say anything, I mean anything. Wood, plastic, rock, metal, human skin. That doesn't sound like a creature that I would want to be real. Plus, this thing is 2 foot 7 inches and 38 pounds. I don't think throwing salt on this thing would be really effective. Whenever it was a Goomy, it had eyes, so it could freaking see. Now SLIGGOO is completely blind. But then that leads to the question, what if you're able to tame a SLIGGOO? SLIGGOO is unable to tell if you are a friend or a foe. It will calmly try to melt and eat even those it gets along with. So yeah, you could be the best friends with this thing, and it will try to melt you while you're sleeping with that goofy grin on its face. It doesn't care. I mean, if you want to be melted alive, then SLIGGOO would be the perfect companion for you. Moving on, we have SANDYGAST and PALOSSAND. These are evolutions, so I'm putting them together. A cute little sandcastle Pokemon. Why wouldn't you want to see a living sandcastle? There are thousands upon thousands of beaches in the world, and obviously SANDYGAST and its evolution will dominate all of them. When a human goes to the beach and they're carrying a giant grudge, then a SANDYGAST is created. I'm pretty sure that all of you has experienced at least one grudge in your lifetime. How many people go to the beach? Millions. How many children are at the beach building sandcastles? Millions. How many petty people are there? How many angry people are there? A lot. So there would be a whole bunch of ghosty sand things all over the place. If a person happens to grab the little shovel that's on its head, it falls under its control. It hypnotizes them. If it doesn't have a shovel, then it probably has a stick or a flag or a candy wrapper, pretty much anything that it finds. Then there's the evolution. PALOSSAND can control adults without a shovel or a stick or a candy wrapper. They can control them at any time. Most of them just make the adults add more sand to them, also to make them bigger, but they can actually regenerate the sand at will. They're just being buttholes and showing off their power. But don't be fooled, they could still be dangerous. They could form sand vortexes to suck in small children and Pokemon. They bury them alive, then steal their life force. The bigger they are, the bigger their prey will be. So imagine that in the real world. Going to the beach just to be buried alive and have your life stolen from you as you suffocate underneath it. Though this is a ghost type, they can lose their life, and they say that you could see the remains of the prey that they murdered once they pass underneath them. So that's great, wonderful. You're digging and then you see a bone from a human child. Wonderful. People wouldn't even be able to go to the beach anymore if these actually existed. While we are talking about beaches, let's move on to the next Pokemon. We have MALAMAR. MALAMAR is based off an upside down squid, so even though it's not a water type, it would most likely live in damp areas or in the ocean. Because this thing is so freaking mean, they had to add the dark typing to it. So let's look at real squids really quick. Real squids are just as creepy considering they have teeth in their tentacles. Colossal squids are very aggressive and dangerous, but luckily they mostly live in the deep ocean, so humans don't really have to worry about them. But MALAMAR is a squid that just kind of hangs out on land and everywhere else, so we would see them a lot. Let's look at its Pokemon X and Y Pokedex entry. It wields the most compelling hypnotic powers of any Pokemon, and it forces others to do whatever it wants. It lures prey close with hypnotic motions, then wraps its tentacles around it before finishing off its prey with digestive fluids. Wonderful. So this creature doesn't care about anything, and if it sees anything that's living, it will hypnotize it and force it to do anything it wants. But then it will eat you whenever it's finished with you. This thing is 4'11". That's as tall as he. Well, he's actually 4'10" because he's short, but whatever. Moving on, we have BEEDRILL. I feel like this one is kind of expected, as I see a lot of people talk about this because, you know, it's a giant freaking hornet. I freak out over tiny little bees. Well, bumblebees are okay and cute, and little fuzzy bees help out with honey. But then there's these things. Evil in a tiny body. Criminal masterminds. Yes, BEEDRILL has bee in its name, but it's more based off of a wasp or a hornet. BEEDRILLs are 3 foot 3 inches and 65 pounds. A real wasp is like 1 inch. If they get big enough or whatever. This thing is a 3-footer. Do you understand the amount of nope that courses through my veins? This thing was real? I wouldn't even want to live in this world anymore. I'll just go ahead and dig myself a hole. Plus, look at those stingers. You wouldn't even have to worry about being stung. You would have to worry about being stabbed. According to their Pokedex entry, they can fly super fast, maybe even faster than a car, and then they jab their enemy repeatedly until they're dead. There's no way that you could outrun that. What's worse, they're extremely territorial, and if they see you, they call their buddies, and then they chase you. No thank you. Moving on, we have Houndoom. Dogs are adorable. Dogs are pure, and I love them. We don't deserve them, and I want to adopt every dog ever. But even though the Pokemon anime makes Houndoom seem like the most sweet creature ever, if Houndoom were real, we would be screwed. Houndoom is based off of a hellhound, which are dogs obviously, but they're associated with death and hell. In some mythology, they say if you stare into its eyes 3 times, you die. If you hear it howl, you die. Basically, you see it or hear it, you die. It's bad. Houndooms aren't really from hell, but they can still be very, very dangerous, especially the wild ones. They're a bit like wolves in the real world. They are pack animals, so if you happen to see one in the wild, then expect that there's probably 5 more somewhere. On top of having to worry about being chased by one, you have to worry about being burned. If they just magically spawned in the human world, we would not know what to do. In the Pokemon world, sure, I'm sure they have a way to deal with Houndooms. As soon as you turn 10 in the Pokemon universe, they teach you how to deal with Pokemon. But we're dumb. People with no Pokemon knowledge will probably see it and think, ooh, it's a cute little dog wearing a Halloween costume. Then attempt to pet it, then get burnt alive. Crappy thing about them though is that if you get burned by a Houndoom, you will never heal. You will feel the horrible pain of the burn until you die. So imagine a grease burn that doesn't go away ever, but worse. Yeah, it's bad. Moving on, we have BEWEAR. I'm sure there's millions of people out there that love to collect plushies. There are many Build-A-Bear shops scattered all over the place. Basically, people love cute things. BEWEAR and Stuffle aren't exactly plushies or teddy bears, but they definitely look like it. If a child saw one of these things, they would totally walk up to it and attempt to hug it, thinking it's like one of those things that you see at Disney, only to be flung across the parking lot. All these kids are like, oh, cute, and then they just all die. This Pokemon has the habit of hugging its companion. Many trainers have left this world after their spines were squashed by its hug. If you make friends with this Pokemon, you could potentially die from its hug. That sucks because hugs are magical. You wouldn't want a bear hug from this guy. Okay. I'll go ahead and delete my channel now. Moving on, we have Pinsir. Already just looking at a realistic Pinsir looks absolutely terrifying, and I don't want any. If you thought the bugs that we have now are freaky, I don't even want to think about a Pinsir. Just in the Pokemon universe, it uses its pincers to tear and crush its opponents. It can lift things twice its weight, easily crush logs, and it does not show mercy to its victims. Once they are caught, it won't let them go until it tears them in half. If it could easily break a log, it could easily crush a person. Like, there's no way. We're like Jello. I mean, if you want Pokemon to be real, that's fine, but know that all of these other Pokemon will also become real. You wish it, you have to get everything that comes with it. If it fails to cut its victim in half, then it thrashes them around and throws them violently against things. This one is also 4'11" and 121.3 pounds. It weighs more than me. On top of having to worry about being cut in half, you would have to worry about the teeth. But people who live in cold areas wouldn't have to worry about it. Pinsir hates cold weather, much like myself. Next, we have DRAPION. Let me know in the comments below if a little piece of you would die inside if a scorpion crawled on you for just a little bit. Now imagine a 135-pound scorpion stepping on you. Imagine a 4-foot scorpion in your house. I've seen a scorpion in my cousin's house before in Texas, but DRAPION can freaking knock your door down. It's extremely aggressive and will attack anything that's in its territory. Pokedex entry time. Even though it can tear foes apart, it finishes them off with a powerful poison. Its head can rotate 180 degrees, eliminating blind spots. It attacks Pokemon and people if it crosses the desert. Okay, great, you can't sneak past it, and it could kill you quickly, but it chooses to kill you the slowest possible way. This Pokemon would be beyond bad news in this world. Taking our number 2 spot, we have Shiinotic. Look at that freaking face! I'm almost more scared of this thing than Mr. Mime. I'm sorry if you like this thing, but I'm terrified of it. We have mushrooms in nature, so if this thing was real, I would imagine it to be really, really common. It kind of looks like Toad's ghost cousin, even though it's not a ghost, but still. Pokedex entry time. Places where Shiinotic live are treacherous to enter at night. People confused by the strange lights that it produces never find their way home again. It emits flickering spores that cause drowsiness. When its prey succumb to sleep, this Pokemon feeds on them by sucking in their energy. Oh good, so thanks to this thing, people get lost in the forest, then they get put to sleep, then they get eaten. It doesn't care. It's extremely dangerous in the Pokemon world. So how do you think it would be in the real world? I really like pretty lights. I like shiny things. I would definitely want to follow it. I would totally get wrecked. Even if it was a nice mushroom, I would still be scared of it. Finally, the last Pokemon that we're going to be covering, we have ARIADOS. Do I even have to explain why I wouldn't want to have a venomous 73-pound spider walking around or waking up to see it on my freaking ceiling above my bed? No. I ain't dealing with no freaking giant spider. It's kind of mean. It will wrap you up in its web, then make you think that you're about to die, but then it will set you free. So then you feel happy that you lived. But without you knowing, it puts a little line of web on your body, so it could follow you afterwards. The line of web is basically invisible and it can't be broken. That's why people in the Pokemon world use its webbing to make clothing because it's so strong. Then once it finds you again, it will poison you, wrap you up, and then drink all of your juices. Nah. But Tricky, we have guns and other weapons in the real world. Do you think a gun or a sword is gonna affect a Pokemon that could survive freaking explosions, flamethrowers, hyper beams, and other things? Like, I know Pokemon can die, but it takes a lot for them to die. In the game, they merely faint, but that's kind of game logic. But they are still supernatural creatures with superpowers. My point is, we would have a big war on our hands if wild Pokemon became real without any precautions, but to be honest, I would be ready for them. I mean, I still want Pokemon to be real. Put in the comment section below if you still don't care and you still want Pokemon to be real. I give you a high five. I agree. That's all the Pokemon I'll be covering today. Again, if this video gets 5,000 likes, I'll do a sequel. Be sure to follow me on Twitch for Let's Plays, and eventually we'll be doing a charity stream now that I got a working computer. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more fun little videos like this and other songs whenever I actually do them. So here are my other social links and stuff. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.